just brings up AD Lulu. He played Syndra to great effect, really just going tier and then rushing a DFG and just blowing people up. Plus their support, they had a support Annie in that last game. So really Dark Passage has to be very reactive in the way they're picking right now because they don't know what's going to come out from Immunity.
Well, the picks and bans are coming through fast. We are on 3.10 patch here, so it is going to be Ken and Zed being banned out along with Shen for Immunity, and it's Jarvan Thresh Lissandra. So fast-paced bans for both these teams, instantly locked in. Zach, no message.
I did like the Lissandra ban at least, only because Immunity had such success with it in the top lane. Getting that out of the picture really will benefit, I think, the lane or team comp versatility that Dark Passage ends up with.
Well, yeah, I'm going to see the Zach locked in there, and of course that was for Immunity, and it does look like Sona Evelynn have been locked in for Dark Passage. Riosta just had Evelynn playing against him from Gaming Gear, so maybe he's going to take some tips from what Luna just did against him.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Eve pick has shown a fair bit of success in here. We know that it was against, I'm just trying to double check, Dark Passage had Eve played against them by Gaming Gear and just lost with it. And there's been a lot of back and forth picks, surprisingly, from those two regions, which were Gaming Gear and Dark Passage. I don't necessarily think we're going to see the same overlap, though, from Team Immunity.
So he also had Lee Sin in the game that was restarted, so obviously he's struggling to find his jungler right now.
He hasn't found his spot right now. I feel like he's playing in a very uncomfortable state, and it's got to be tough for them since their very first game had the delay. They had to swap stages, then they ended up losing the game. They were losing the first game when the pause happened, but that's a lot of game and time that's already set in for them to be playing their second game here and really just having to reset once again for a totally new team that can throw anything at.
So what do we count with Elise now? Obviously had the changes in 3.10, one of the champions that was quite heavily affected by the champion changes.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be running Elise in the jungle or the top lane. I still think Elise is a serviceable pick. I don't necessarily think Elise is nearly as strong as she used to be. I think the Spiderling changes hit her incredibly hard, especially against teams that have a lot of incidental AoE damage, which Dark Passage absolutely still can have. Eve hate spikes for a couple seconds in a team fight. It's going to wipe out Spiderlings and just kind of shred through and get rid of a lot of the effectiveness of Elise's spider form. They're going to have to be very careful with the way they go in that Elise.
Well, AD carries, we're seeing a similar pattern emerging. Whether else going to happen throughout the whole tournament, who knows? With Twitch and Varus, it's pretty much the steady one, but the more important one there is the fact that Vlad was locked in.
Yeah, I wonder here for Dark Passage, I know that they could definitely try and play that in a split push sense because that's one of the most popular things where the Vladimir's been coming out from, but I haven't really seen or heard of Fabulous playing that split pusher. He had a pretty big struggle on Kennen in the two games he's had, so he's most likely switching it up there because obviously Kennen was banned away from him. I'm not really sure what to think of him yet because Fabulous had 2 rough games in a row and now he's getting banned out.
That is a interesting pick, I think I would say. Picking a Twisted Fate into a Kassadin is not something I would see too often.
Yeah, they're really going risky with that Twisted Fate pick. I'm almost certain here that they're just going for a heavy split push strategy and hoping Kassadin isn't enough. It's almost like Dark Passage decided what they were doing with that Vladimir pick, and then even though the Kassadin could just destroy a Twisted Fate, they're picking it anyway because they want it for the team synergy.
Well, it's going to see how it works out. The fact that Twisted Fate did sneak through to the 10th pick. What do we make of these two teams? The fact that we have a lot of control, a lot of aggression as well, a lot of damage coming out from Immunity there, honestly.
Well, as we heard HackerB talk about, it looks like Immunity really has their pick and ban phase down at this point. They have a lot of synergy within that team comp. Huge tank line from Zach, plus the roaming of Kassadin, and then they just have the lockdown combo of Zyra Twitch that we were talking about so well. They seem to have really the team comp required to just stop what Dark Passage wants to do. It's just going to be a matter of executing at this point.
Meanwhile, of course, Dark Passage, they've got that combo. It's that bottom lane. They seem to favor it. Varus Sona. That's what they took in the very first game against Gaming Gear. Was starting to snowball against them, but we had the restart. They took it a lot closer than with the Twitch, though. But so, do they favor the Twitch? Do they favor the Varus? And more importantly, who do you think is better? I mean, you work closely with these QA guys.
Right now, absolutely. I feel like at least in this matchup, the Twitch Zyra has a little bit of an edge, only because they're not completely dependent on their level 6 to kind of make a play happen. what's most likely going to happen and what we saw in Dark Passage's last matchup of this exact same lane is they got first blood with a kill when they both at level 6 because they chained the Sona and the Varus ultimates together on Twitch. Then the cooldowns were so long that the Twitch and Zyra just came right back at him because as soon as Zyra lands one root, Twitch can just go all out. And if there's no crescendo to counteract that, Varus is on the defensive.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live for Game 2 of the International Wildcard Tournament. There's already, technically it's Game 3, I guess you could say, because there's already been 2 more games happen. It is a round robin, of course, and it is simply deciding, A, it's going to exclude one team. They're going to be placed 5th. Who will it be? We're going to find out today. And then, of course, the semi-final placement will all be seeded of this round robin tournament. Right now, we have Immunity as the blue team with a pause, and Dark Passage as the red team. So we will be getting underway in just a few moments when these teams are ready and waiting to go.
Yeah. So Immunity obviously sitting at 1-0 right now. Dark Passage at 0-1. These teams have not played each other yet. Definitely feel like Immunity has the edge in picks and bans, and they definitely have a lot of momentum coming in from the Oceanic qualifiers.
So, Pain Gaming, they had the chance to watch that. I mean, is that an advantage to? It's always funny. It's like one of those things. Like, do you get to play first and get it out your system? You got the nerves building up. Whereas Pain was sat in the audience. I could see them out my peripheral vision when they were sat watching those first few games. So they've had the chance to sit and watch all 4 teams play now.
Yeah, and they're playing over on the other stream right now, actually. So I wonder how they're going to be doing over there. I honestly think it's a small, yet maybe insignificant advantage to definitely have the initial scout on these teams, because especially for a team like Gaming Gear, who qualified back in what was essentially week 2 of the European LCS, and then they kind of went dark. No one's been able to keep tabs on exactly what they're doing when compared to a team like Immunity, whose Oceanic qualifiers were less than a month ago.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more recent scouting on a team like that. So for Pain to be able to sit back and just get their first glimpse will give them definitely a bit of an edge.
Well, we'll see how that works out for them. If you've just joined us, guys, we are getting underway. Well, or we will be in a moment, guys.
Very soon.
There is 3 tournaments happening this weekend at Gamescom. It is going to be a jam-packed week of gaming. We're going to have, of course, the International Wildcard, which is happening right now. So hello to all the international fans. If you guys are tuning in and you wouldn't ordinarily watch our show, of course, we are going to be cheering on, I guess you guys are going to be cheering on the Brazilian team, which is Pain Gaming, the Mexican team, which is Lion Gaming. They're 1-0 down right now. The Turkish team, of course, Dark Passage. The Lithuanians, Gaming Gear, who are 1-0 up, alongside the Australian team, which is Immunity, which are on your screen right there. Of course, there's also going to be the Champions, Challenger team is the one I'm after. Thank you very much, Jeff, for correcting me on that one. There's going to be AT Gaming, KMT, Copenhagen Wolves, and TCM. So 4 big teams in there. We've already seen TCM and Copenhagen Wolves going at it in Tenerife just a couple of weeks ago in sunny Tenerife on the islands, and TCM came out on top, but they're going to be facing each other in the first round of that semi-final.
And if we think about just how many teams are actually going to be here, to give you a scale of kind of the size of this event, 5 teams International Wildcard, 4 teams in the Challenger, and then starting Friday, the European LCS playoffs with 6 more. So 15 teams altogether are going to be cycling through and playing on this stage. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Obviously today is media day, so we don't have the hordes of fans quite there yet, but it's going to be very interesting when it starts filling up.
For media day, it's already starting to fill up, which is...
There's a lot of people here. It's a lot of media.
It's a lot of media.
Yeah.
I mean, the press, every year I come to Gamescom, the press passes. There seems to be more and more press. I mean, you guys, you must be writing a lot of material when you come to Gamescom.
Press passes are...
not so hard to get hold of, maybe?
Probably pretty nice to have, I have to say.
They'd be pretty nice to have. Of course, I'm talking about the European LCS. We did have a crazy Super Week. 26 games were eventually played in that Super Week, the longest Super Week ever. And of course, that means that Evil Genius is going to be facing off against Alternate. This will be happening on Friday. A lot of people have been asking me this. When do they play? When do EG play? Friday. There's a lot of EG fans out there, trust me, in Europe. EG play Alternate on Friday, as well as Gambit facing off against Ninjas in Pajamas on Friday. Then Saturday is when we see Lemon Dogs and Fnatic playing the winners of those 2 games.
And the cool part about this to me is, even though the International Wildcard Tournament and the European playoffs aren't directly related, there's still going to be seeding into the same tournament. We're going to get one of these teams heading into the World Playoffs from the Wildcard, and then 3 teams heading in from Europe. So even the teams like EG do have a lot of value in like watching these tournaments, seeing how Immunity is doing, seeing how Dark Passage is, because there's a good chance they could be in a group stage with.
Yeah, by the end of this week, we will have 5 teams out of 14 into that World Finals, because we've already seen the Southeast Asian team making it in there, and that was, of course, Mineski from the Philippines.
They shut down Chowie's team.
Yeah, Singapore Sentinels didn't manage to get through. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the International Wildcard Tournament. This is for a place in the World Finals. The round-robin stages, second or third match of the day beginning here. It is going to be Immunity from the Oceanic Service and Dark Passage from the Turkish region. So, the question is, with DP down 1-0, after losing out to Gaming Gear, how will their confidence be? Will they be rocked? Will they be knocked? Or will Immunity be ready and waiting to go? As it is, we are seeing them setting up. 1.5 minutes gone. No crazy invades, simply standard ward placements. So, Chow, we've had a lot of changes in the jungle. Why is it we don't see a great deal of invades? We do sometimes see in the Korean scene, but it's honestly from the European LCS, we've barely seen anything this season.
Invades are extremely dangerous, and I think a lot of teams are trying to avoid that. So many teams have a lot of faith and pre-planning into kind of what they're doing, and level 1s are entirely unpredictable in a sense that the team that invades, if they walk into a wrong bush, specifically against a team with Zyra, like Immunity has right now, you could just set yourself up to get 5 people rooted and just lose the game at that point. So it's a very touchy thing to try to do, and you need a lot of preparation and practice to be able to confidently go in and do invades, and that's just knowledge these teams simply don't have.
And we could talk about the 2 champions that are actually selected here. You can see Naru on Twisted Fate. Looks like he's going to go into 2v1 in the bottom lane, so that's the mid laner heading down to the bottom, which means they're actually going to try and punish out Heaven here. This is a hard lane for Heavens.
It's a very interesting choice, because Kassadin, yes, is very weak to 2v1s, but at the same time, it is easier to be the one person in a 1v2 if you're in mid lane than if you're in a side lane. It's not like Twisted Fate, which is played by Naru, is a good 1v2 side laner, and he's going to get punished just as much, if not more, than Kassadin. But this just says how much DP does not want that Twisted Fate Kassadin matchup to happen, and how much they want to keep Kassadin down while they're doing that 2v1 mid.
So since they've moved into these 2v1 lanes, which AD carry will benefit the most? Will it be the fact that Varus is going to get free farming? I mean, effectively, they're both going to harass each other as much as they would in a 2v2, but it seems to me that Twitch is going to be happy in this lane, as is Varus. Nobody seems to have an advantage.
They're both going to be fairly happy in this. I think the advantage will come with which lane has more kill potential.
Right.
And right now, the Twitch lane definitely has more kill potential on Twisted Fate, because Zyra could catch a root on him, and they could think about taking down Naru, where the inverse is not true for Sonus, and Sona is just harass damage, and it's very predictable. Kills might come from Gangster, though, as Eve's trying to help out.
Yeah, we already see both junglers coming to help out these lanes. There is going to be Riosta coming in, getting those hate spikes across, trying to just keep the damage down, keep them off the turret as much as possible. We already saw Alicia helping out in the mid lane as well. He's on Elise. That's going to be a tricky one to say.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tricky one for sure.
We could just call him Elise at all points, and that way there's no confusion. Elise goes in.
But look at this top lane. Look at the pressure, actually. Swiper's going to have to back away here. You can see Fabulous has been putting the pressure down. Put the extra Fab in, by the way, in between the break we had.
That sneaky guy. He's trying to gain the luck back from Fabulous to being Fabulous. He's nicknamed Fab by a lot of people over in Turkey, so he's at least trying to maybe play off of his fans a little bit. He loves to push up in that lane, sometimes without wards. Obviously, they have the river warded right now, but in their previous games against Gaming Gear, he got punished a little bit because he wins the early laning phase, but then he doesn't necessarily position or have what seems like the proper game sense at this point to stay in that lane smartly and not get punished. Early on, things are working out for him on Vlad, though. Yeah,
we saw Riosta actually trying to sneak down there, but he was actually stood on a ping ward, and suddenly I think he realized it as soon as that little eye popped over the top of him, and Twitch stealthed up to Radier, one of the superstars apparently of the Australian scene, so we'll see whether he manages to shine on the tournament scene. It's all very well and good, someone being a superstar, solo queue superstar, whether it translates though into big international tournaments, and we are seeing Radier punished here. He does manage to stealth up, and Riosta's not going to be able to find him, tries to keep those hate spikes running. He gets caught out with the slow.
Ooh.
The moment Radier shows himself, he flashed for
a kill,
but that's going to be a kill. He's going to get caught with the wild cards return, but Naru's in trouble. He's going to go down. The Ignite will finish him off. Rosie throws in there. Barrier, will it be enough to cover him off? Tries to go in towards the push. No, it is a double kill for Rosie.
Getting both kills on Azara is not the best outcome for that, but it's still very good for Team Immunity. Just over-committing in a sense, trying to get that gank kill, catching the turret, and then since one kill goes bad, they just decided to keep going. Twisted Fate stuck in a little too long. Almost didn't even deserve to get that one kill because Radier could have dodged those last set of wildcards, but it is a 2-for-1, and it means necessarily, we've been talking about those 80 carries for a while. Radier, despite getting help for a double kill, is putting himself behind Lethelion now since he died in that exchange.
Well, we'll see what those 2 kills translate into. It is going to be a cage lucky pick. So actually, Rosie going to be a little bit aggressive. We should talk about Rosie because Rosie actually used to be the mid laner for Team Immunity.
And it just didn't end up working out for him. That's one thing about Rosie is he's actually played every role in some form in competitive events. Don't know really what level of competition that was, but he's another one of those supports that has played all the roles, therefore can help support better, at least in his mindset.
Well, the AD carry of Radier went back and got himself the Vampiric Scepter. Lethelion, meanwhile, hasn't bought anything just yet. Of course, in this mid lane, continuing to keep the pressure on towards Heavens. Heavens hasn't been that heavily punished, honestly, in this mid lane.
Not
Although,
really.
that said, Lethelion is way ahead in terms of CS.
Yeah, I think that CS is obviously just because the Twitch died. Thinking about the Kassadin farm, though, is quite impressive to have 24 farm against the Verisona, and still, obviously because of the turret change, is about half a turret. I don't necessarily think that this lane swap by Dark Passage is working out for them the way they intended.
On this top lane, we haven't had a great deal of chance to look up here. Fabulous was putting the pressure on towards Swiper, forced him back early on, is winning out in terms of CS, which doesn't surprise me entirely too much against the Vlad. No. You can see in terms of items, they're kind of just simply stacking against one another right now.
And Vlad's gonna do the early laning generally better than Zach right now. Just range versus melee, no gank support has been thought of in that top lane, and considering how dominant Fabulous was at the very start of that lane, it does seem like that's kind of waning away as Sniper's been able to refarm that, especially if Swiper's able to get a few more items, potentially pick up that Spirit Visage. It's going to be trouble right back at Fabulous. That's what these Zacs do in the top lane, is they stack magic resist. Once they get their Spirit Visage, it's very hard to move them.
Well, it was a BF sword picked up by Lethelion, so he's going to go for, I guess, more damage, try and bully out Kassadin. Kassadin, of course, hit level 6, as has Naru on Twisted Fate, so both with their ultimates available now. So we'll see whether we do have any Destiny going around. Oh, Chain of Corruption going out from Lethelion, not landing. Heavens having to rift walk away from that one. So that ultimate coming at a timely moment.
And 8 minutes hits, the bonus armor on the turrets is gone, and Dark Passage gets the middle turret. Comparing that to the other 2v1, where Radier and Rosie are, unless they get this kill, oh no, they might get it at the right time.
Stranglethorns goes down, is it going to be enough? Yes, the last shot comes in, Radier picks up the kill.
That's exactly what they needed, because they had essentially lost the 2v1 trade since they didn't have any turret damage, but getting the kill may make this a little bit worth it. They're going to try to get a little bit of turret damage, but Dark Passage is just roaming on the way down, and they're going to end up pushing him back.
Crescendo is available. If they get in there, they're going to go straight in towards it. This is a bit of a face check. Teleport comes in. It's going to be Heavens to catch out. Lethelion's gone too deep, and he gets caught out, and Heavens picks himself up. The easiest kill he'll find. Flash from Holy Thoth. He's not done yet. He's going to have to try and get away from this one. They did have the cover of Riostra as well, but they should be able to push on towards the tower here.
Immunity's ahead of the game with that gank. They knew that Dark Passage was going to be roaming down, got the teleport, and now they're just continuing on.
Well, Crescendo's still available, so they've got to be careful they don't overstretch this one. Holy Thoth has used that flash, so he's not going to be able to jump on towards them. Here comes the Twisted Fate. Will it be enough? Is he going to even use that Crescendo? He's already used it to try and catch out a Tell a Lie. That's going to be the wild cards going through. Riostra picks up that kill with the hate spikes. He's going to try and get that speed buff, get on towards Alicia. Not going to happen.
Yeah, so the Crescendo was used in the first fight. It's before the roam happened down, and that was actually a case of Immunity just completely overstaying their welcome. It's almost like they forgot the Twisted Fate existed in the game. He came down, didn't allow the stealth Twitch to survive, obviously because Destiny just gave him all the vision there, and it does give that nice little turnaround kill.
Well, it doesn't seem that they are done yet. It's still a 3v3 stack in this bottom lane. Finally, we're seeing Alicia backing off. This top lane, there's been a bit of back and forth there. They've both got their ultimates available, and they're continuing that farming trend. But look at this. It's actually Naru they're going to focus on. Riostra was waiting in the wing zone. Wildcards come through. They get the kill onto Alicia. Wow. again, nobody's backing away from this fight.
They just keep skirmishing again and again, and this fight could continue actually because Dark Passage is trying to start this dragon. This is really just Ryosta trying to put his stamp on this game right now. He struggled in the previous ones, but he's making plays happen on Eve right now, forcing even more engagements as they try to get this dragon down.
Stranglethorns is available. Rosie's going to come around the side, catches on. There's Stranglethorns being used, but actually flashed away. It's Naru. He's putting a lot of damage down on his
nice
own.
flash!
Radier comes flashing across the side and picks up the killing banana bush. Then they're not over yet. Heaven's trying to get on towards Holythoth. Holythoth with no mana, having to back away from this one. They're going to pursue though. Radier's looking at coming across. No, they have to give the call. They're going to back off.
All right, we can calm down a little bit here. And the thing we need to notice
Heavens is going for it.
Oh,
Heavens is
He's
going
crazy.
for it. He's
This
trying to
isn't
get
gonna-
towards Holythoth. He's in a 3v1, but Chain of Corruption comes straight out. Piercing Arrow will find his target, and Lethilion will get it. You said it. He's crazy.
Yeah, that was not a good idea. Even if he gets the kill, he's still giving back assist gold, and he's just kind of going all out trying to make plays on Kassadin. But if we look at the objective-based game so far that Dark Passage has been playing, only now do they end up getting one turret back. But losing that dragon, despite having a 5-4 kill lead, they're still down that 2,000 gold because they just haven't been able to keep up with, I guess, the lane push that Dark Passage has been able to put on the map and the essentially pressure that Twisted Fate creates, knowing he's with that ultimate despite his 1-3 score.
Well, this passive, of course, only affects himself now. It won't be the rest of the team that's stacking up. So Dark Passage have legitimately gained themselves that extra 2,000 gold lead that they currently have. 1-1 in turrets right now. Pretty close in kills. And it ain't over yet, though. Naru getting engaged upon by Heavens. Just putting the pressure down. Rift walking in towards him. Using that force ball saying, yep, I'm here and I will cause you problems in this mid lane.
And this game is not even close to over. Ryosta trying to set up a gank here. It's going to be tough to lock down a Zac here, but he's going to try.
Good baiting from Fabulous, trying to keep Swiper there, just forcing him back. Fabulous is not going to follow this one up, but he's keeping those haste boys going. He's going to keep him back. Finally, has to Elastic Slingshot himself away from the fight.
And we can see Fabulous's build is growing to also be a split push monster. He's went with the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith as well as that Negatron Cloak. So we talked about how Zac becomes an immovable object. Fabulous might be a little bit more difficult to deal with. Ghost Flash Vladimir, the standard summoner spells for split pushing, especially when you consider everyone on immunity is magic damage except for Radier, who's actually been kept down very well this game. Fabulous has a good chance of split pushing his way to a victory here.
So how do we see this game developing? Looks like Build Water Cutlass is going to be picked up by Radier, while Bloodthirster has been completed by Lethilion. Lethilion, of course, got himself that 1 kill early, has got that CS advantage, but overall, we've seen what's happened in the mid and lane phase. We're moving into the mid game now. Who's really going to have that power advantage?
So right now, I'd say it's going to be Dark Passage, only because Ryosta's Jungle Eve is able to create a lot of opportunity, and there's no way that Immunity can reliably deal with Fabulous right now. As you can see, they just sent 3 people up, didn't even think about ganking, and that just allows Dark Passage to do so much more on the map. Now's the counteraction chance for Ryosta to make a play happen on this turret, which is the first time Dark Passage has hit it all game.
Yeah, we can see that Naru, of course,
they're just scared.
With that ultimate, looking to maybe he may have to ultimate away from this one actually, but he's got to be careful he doesn't get silenced midway through. In fact, he's just leaving immunity on a merry chase around that mid lane. Is going to try and pop that ultimate, does get interrupted, tries to turn it back on towards Heavens. Not going to happen, but that's trying to get in there. The bottom turret's being pushed though.
Yeah, but Heavens is just out of mana. Kassadin cannot keep pace. Bottom turret action continues as they just force multiple turrets on the map at once.
Well, and that's going to be Ryosta also taking down that bottom turret. Like you said, Fabulous has pretty much done the damage to the top turret as well, but Naru again, Heavens back on towards him. Has he got enough? He's going to have to try and pull out that yellow card. He does, stuns him up, but oh, he actually flashes through. The force pulse comes in, Alicia comes in and sinks in the fangs.
And once again, Immunity kind of makes a play at exactly the moment when they need to. Since they've lost both side turrets effectively near the same time, that one just now going down, they had to make something else happen mid lane since they've given up so much of those objectives on the side lanes.
Rosie and Radier, just be careful in that bottom lane because there is Ryosta coming round. He thought about engaging, when looking for the red buff, wasn't there, and they are going to back away from this one because, as you saw, Radier also already had that red buff on him, so he'd taken that buff away. You can see Lethilion and Holythoth actually, they were waiting in that bottom bush, waiting to see if they'd push through, but instead they are going to linger there and they're just going to clear out that wave. Swiper's going to try and get himself some opportunity to push on towards his top turret. It's not going to have too long. Fabulous is coming.
Yeah, he's really trying to find his window here. There's a lot of lanes that aren't going in the way of team immunity. Specifically, if we think about Raider, or Raider, whichever one we're going to go with at this point, he was the first challenger player on the Young Oceanic server, so that's one of the reasons he's looked at as one of these big stars. But he's been getting very focused by Dark Passage here. Twisted Fate revealing anytime he tries to come back. I have to say, Riosta has just ganked him over and over again, and if he doesn't get going in this matchup, it's going to be very difficult for the rest of Immunity to make plays happen. He needs to spend as much time here farming, and maybe Cassidy needs to focus a bit of his teleport action and roam potential down near towards where Raider is, because he's attracting attention himself, and the rest of Immunity needs to be there.
Well, you see that pink glow around the route. Does mean that that Lichbane has been picked up and completed now. He's actually pulled quite sizable advantage in terms of CS over Heavens. Heavens has been roaming and trying to put some pressure on towards him, but Naru's been farming quite happily still.
But Heavens' build is also a little bit strange. He's built very defensively. We've seen a lot of Cassidans in the past go Tear of the Goddess into Rod of Ages. There is no Tear on Heavens right now, meaning if he ever gets in extended fights, or if he's trying to create a lot of distance with his Rift Walks, he is going to run out of mana, and he just won't be able to have that extended action.
Crescendo being used down the bottom, immediately cleansed out. There's going to be spray and pray. Stranglethorns catching on towards Lithilion. He uses the barrier,
There's
just
the
about saves him. There's the teleport. They're going to go towards Riosta. Riosta goes down. It's Alicia that picks up the kill. Chain of Corruption did come out. Oh, that's going to be a cocoon, completely missed. But Naru, he just comes straight in there, and that's actually going straight towards Raider. Raider's just spraying and spraying. He's locking everyone up. Lithilion goes down. It's another kill. Swiper picks that one up, and this is Immunity putting the pressure on the bottom lane.
Awesome move by Immunity. They knew that Raider was going to be attracting pressure, and they turned that gank around. Heavens used his teleport to get in while he still had mana, and then specifically Sniper Zac coming in at the tail end to dive the turret, really turn the tables, and if they get this dragon, they're completely back in the gold game.
Well, we have Fabulous and the Holy Top. They're trying to come in and try and interrupt this one, but there's only so much they can do. The dragon already down. Cocoon actually landed on towards Fabulous, and they just hit and run.
So after that, that means Rod of Ages is completed. That also means there was an extra kill picked up for Twitch. After he'd completed the Blade of the Ruin King, he's actually now 600 gold ahead of Lithilion in this game, and there's not a real tank line for anyone on Dark Passage, so their ability to actually dive through on Twitch is very scary for them, because if any of them dive in and don't instantly kill him, they're going to get shredded right back, and Twitch is going to take over.
And you look where the pressure is. Just look at the mid laners. Heavens, he's been in a tough lane. Oh, actually, let's have a look down the bottom. We do see the ultimate was used by Fabulous. He's not going to really do a great deal, it seems. The mid lane is what I want to talk about. Heavens, of course, he was in a tough, 2v1 lane. Didn't die, didn't give up the kills, played it safe, and you can see he's at 1-1-2. On the other hand, Naru, he's been trying to create all these situations, and he's 1-5.
For a while, it's kind of working for him, because he was, in a sense, sacrificing himself for the greater good of the team. Sure, he'd go in and die, but then Dark Passage would get a turret out of it. And his ultimate is still revealing Twitch in these all-important team fights. But if he continues to have struggles like this, since there's the split push build going on Fabulous, Naru needs to be a magic damage threat by himself at some point in this game. So even though his deaths have kind of created a bit of turret action for Dark Passage, he's got to find a way to get a little bit back in the scoreline. Oh, look out.
Oh, Heaven's going to be getting on towards Naru. It's not going to be enough to slow him down. Oh, he sidesteps actually the wildcards. You can see that Lichbane still hasn't landed, hasn't been used, but again, no mana available, like you say. So simply scaring him away. Despite all these advantages that Immunity seem to be gaining in the team fights, they are still behind in gold, which is a big thing for Dark Passage. They have to try and create this situation. And of course, they need to remember their initial outlet of the fact that they wanted to use the split push.
Yeah, obviously some of the gold lead comes in from Twisted Fate's passive just being there. But I still feel like Immunity is the aggressors in this game. Is obviously they're just pushing in, forcing flashes. They're a little bit down in objectives, and Heavens needs to find a way to get mana if he wants to realistically threaten Naru here.
This time, though, he puts about half the damage down, but Naruka tries to try and turn this one around, stun cards instead, and chooses to walk away. Riftwalk still available for Heavens, doesn't go the right direction, it's going to come around, will have Force Balls available again, does put a good burst of damage, Riftwalk will be back available, but look at this, oh, Chain of Corruption missing out there, the rest of his team come around, Raider thinking he can send blood, didn't manage to catch on towards him.
May have actually been a good thing that that Chain of Corruption didn't land, because I feel like if Dark Passage would have committed themselves to a fight there, they would have been undermanned and ended up losing it. What Dark Passage needs to focus on is, honestly, what Naru did there, exactly what they want to do. He drew a bunch of team immunity up there, got a bunch of attention, and then it gives time for Fabulous and the rest of the split push team to kind of go and do work. What Dark Passage needs to do better than that, though, is instead of Fabulous taking race, he needs to shove the lanes, so there's actual turret pressure that punishes immunity from going for things more than just taking one little insignificant jungle camp.
And I'm interested in seeing what Alicia's jungle build is going to turn out, because it's obviously going for the Iron Locket Solari now, which is an interesting item for a second item, because we've seen so many Elises in the past just going straight aggression from the jungle now in 3.10.
And Magic Pen is what's been happening for most of these teams, but I think it's because Dark Passage has such an ability power heavy team that in this circumstance, it's worth it.
Oh, Fabulous getting locked up there by the grasping roots, and look at this, Heaven's going looking for those kills again. This time he's got full mana, and he may be able to find it. Naru's going to try and get away. The Force Pulse doesn't actually land there. Naru gets into the bush, can't try and pull that stun guard out, manages to get it just as the ultimate comes in.
No silence
He's
left.
going to try and get out of this, like you say, just use the silence, gets away from it.
Naru doing his best job at distracting immunity right now, but once again, Dark Passage needs to make something happen on the back end as TF's trying to pull his wizardry over here. Escaping the cast and gank is well and good, but now that that's already happened, he's out of spells. Heaven still has it, and he can go in.
Hollythoth caught out, he's going to go down. It will be Alicia that picks up the kill, and Immunity now may try and take advantage. They're going to push for that mid turret.
So Crescendo out of the game right now. No Twisted Fate ultimate either. And here we go. If they land something good, they might think about going in because there's no tanks on Dark Passage to try to turn this one around.
Wasn't sure whether they were going to try and Rift Walk through. They could Elastic Slingshot, less bounce is available. They could jump all over Dark Passage. They are grouped up heavily, but they're not going too deep on this one right now. They're just going to keep the pressure on and maybe even back off from that turret.
It's a very dangerous turret to gank, which is why we're seeing hesitation from Immunity. Immunity would only go in if they landed the root and had essentially gank kill or dive kills guaranteed. Until then, they're just going to try to find that opportunity. If it doesn't come, no sweat, because they feel like they're in control.
It's a 5v3. There was no Crescendo. You can see that the fact that obviously Hollythoth had been caught out, so I wasn't surprised they didn't go in, but nevertheless, they will back away from this one. So playing it safe. Remember, this is the international wildcard tournament. Every win counts here. This is all about seeding. It's all about getting position in those semi-finals and getting the best matchup you can. Currently right now, Immunity, they're 10-4 up in this one. Pretty still 1,000 gold behind, obviously because of the Twisted Fate, but they are 1-0 up.
And here's why Immunity felt so confident not tower diving, is because they don't really care if Dark Passage Vladimir right now, Fabulous, is just farming up a storm, because that's where a lot of the gold lead is coming from. It's 100 minion kills on his end, almost 8,000 individually for Fabulous, but for them he's a split pusher right now. And he doesn't pose an immediate threat because he can't kill anyone in the split push. If all they do is put Sniper up against him, tank Zac, he can kind of neutralize that threat. Immunity knows if they get into a late game teamfight phase, they're going to be okay. So they can just kind of wait for that moment to happen.
This, though, looks like an assassination may well happen. Stealth comes out from Radier. Heavens goes across, tries to bait him away. This time he may try and use his ultimate. Is he going to be available? Can't Destiny away from this one. There's too much damage. Tries to come out. There's the barrier. Can Destiny get away? No! Radier is there. They had the damage this time to lock him down before he could escape.
And this is as the dragon's coming down. So this is, again, why Immunity doesn't care about the threat right now. Dark Passage kind of needs to make something happen because their split push isn't working.
They're going on towards Riosta. Riosta taking a lot of front-loading damage. Radier picks himself up a second kill. Now Fabulous, he tries to turn around. Hemoplate's going to pop on Radier. Not going to take a piercing arrow. Just out of range. Rosie gets the kill on towards Fabulous. That's going to be a second one. Alicia picks up the kill. That will be Lithilion going down. And that's a disaster for Dark Passage. They lose 4 members.
Immunity absolutely wrecked Dark Passage in that fight. And you could tell Dark Passage was very hesitant after Twisted Fate was dead in that one. They said, we can't give up the dragon. We're only winning because we're up in objectives, was what their mindset was saying. So if they give up objectives, they're going to lose the game. But they just gave up both in that case. They lost a team fight, effectively a delayed ace, and then also lost the dragon. Not good in any sense.
So second dragon of the game for Immunity there, and the gold does finally swing in Immunity's favor. They are still behind in towers. They haven't even touched that top tower. And like you said, all that gold from Fabulous didn't really help when you get locked up by 5 members of a team.
Exactly. You can have a bunch of gold, but it's a 5v4. They didn't have the crowd control lockdown. There wasn't any grouping. Let's take a replay of this fight as well, because you can see it's just a scatter by Immunity. Vladimir is all by himself because there's not actually a cohesive team fight that comes out from Dark Passage right here. Sure, Vladimir almost killed Twitch, but everyone else on Immunity could just fly around and pick everyone up.
Yeah, they have such mobility as well as that team. You can see the fact that you can slingshot in there, rappel in there, force Riftwalk across, and they just seem to have them locked down. Rosie doing a fantastic job of controlling the situation as well. 3-0-5, I might add. Now got the Morellonomicon.
It's a nice little bonus for Zara there. Having the extra cooldown reduction is one of the best things, as well as just straight up healing debuffs will come everywhere from Zara when they get people low, which surprisingly is very effective against Sona in team fights, just getting those final kills off. It's a good item when you have a little bit of extra gold.
And we are now seeing Alicia. He's got them Sorcerer's Boots, so I guess maybe the Haunting guys will follow. We'll see which way he builds this one.
Yeah, and you were talking a little bit earlier about how the Elise build seems strange, since so many Elises we've seen recently since the patch just go straight Sorcerer's Shoes, Haunting guys on Elise and try to blow people up. But you can tell Alicia is trying to balance the two right now, since they absolutely have team fight superiority, in small part because of the 20 Magic Resist aura that building that early Locket of the Iron Solari actually did give them. So I think overall, in this game in particular, he's building Elise perfectly.
Well, we see Naru's gone back to get himself that Rabadon's Death Cap still. No Negatron's Cloak in there, so I still feel that Heavens is just going to completely focus him on the next fight. He's almost got his Zhonya's Hourglass completed, so he's going to be looking to cause some problems and go very deep. Look at this, Immunity backing away from Dark Passage. They're trying to collapse on him. Here we go, teleport coming in.
Immunity wants to turn this one, and they should have waited a little bit longer because you could tell Heavens had his teleport and he wanted to come, but now's the fight.
Chain of Corruption comes in, crescendo use, but look at that, let's bounce. They managed to catch Dark Passage incomplete. Look there, Lethilion, he's going to go down. Alicia does get dropped in that, but that was a double kill picked up by Swipe. It's a 4-for-1.
Unless Dark Passage flanks around with Eve and gets a clean initiation, it doesn't matter if you start with a crescendo. Immunity is better in team fights. Zac plus Twitch and the Zara lockdown is way too much for Dark Passage to handle in any type of close engaged fight.
And Naru just used that Destiny to get away. It will buy him time. It's actually given him time, tried to pull him away from Baron, but they should have enough there to control it. He's not done yet. He wants to try and get in and steal those wildcards. Gets the stun back on Heavens again. This is a battle that keeps going on. Riftwalk away. He's not giving up, but there's the Baron going down. Now he may be able to finish him off. Has to use the barrier. And Heavens, is he going to let him get away? Yes.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an overcommit by Heavens, trying to get Naru down, but it was all for safety in Baron. Since this is Immunity knew everyone else on Dark Passage was dead, there was an outside chance of a wildcards coming in. Let's take a look at that fight and how it happened. Yes, the crescendo landed, but no other follow-up was there. You could tell, as you saw Eve coming in from the back, they were hoping to get that combination, but Heavens had actually pulled Eve away from the fight so that they couldn't combo crescendo with the Eve ult. And then Immunity essentially just went past Eve, didn't let her catch up to the fight, and it's one of the big reasons, aside from just the huge team fight superiority they have, that they won.
And when you're in an enclosed space like that, Rosie just put the Stranglethorns down. Spray and Pray came out from right here. They were just like, well, this is a perfect engage for us. Thanks for that.
It was a 1.5 seconds delayed because of crescendo, but they didn't care about that because there's not exactly a team fight. Since Dark Passage hasn't been able to get this split push going, they're just toolless in team fights in a sense. They don't have the ability to get the team fights going. Fabulous has to take on 1 to 2 people in a different fight for Dark Passage to have a chance here.
Well, we're back in that siege situation, but this time Immunity will take that middle inner turret down. 19-5 up so far. You can see the gold lead still pretty close, but massive advantages from Immunity.
And with the Baron buff being on Immunity here, they might look to pressure a little bit harder, or they could play it safe since they know they have so much team fight superiority. I'm actually expecting Immunity to go off and maybe put those side lanes down if they don't get a dive in the next few seconds.
Yeah, it looks like the top lane would be the almost certain time. Keeps getting caught by those grasping roots and they're just bursting down the damage. That may be enough. Holy Thoth getting caught out here. Rady using the spray and pray. Crescendo burned out. He cleanses it off quickly. Stranglethorns is going to get ready to drop there. Let's bounce on towards Riosta. Riosta is just getting dropped and melted. Heavens picks up the kill there. The root backs away. They're trying to go towards Rady, but it's not enough. Not enough members surviving. It was a 2-for-0.
And that was the type of challenger level play we saw from Radier there, because he made that fight happen by himself on Twitch, which usually isn't advised as a squishy AD carry unless you know exactly what you're doing.
Oh, Naru gets baited in. He's going to get grasping roots. He gets caught. Zhonya's hourglass used by Heavens. Now they're going to turn their attention on towards Fabulous. The burst damage is there. He's already used his pull, and that's another kill. I tell you what, Immunity, they may have enough here. There's a 10-second death timer still. They could finish the game.
And they're looking so strong right now. They can continue the chase on. Even though they didn't seem to have the gold early game, they always had a plan, and they can execute.
And they're going to see Dark Passage. They're going to try and defend this one, but they're coming out in splits. Lethelion is just going to get rocked down there. They're going to see Riosta. He's trying to do what he can, but it's Immunity. They are focusing on the Nexus. They get a double kill for Heavens, but more importantly, they get the Nexus and go 2-0 in the group stage.
Things are looking up for Immunity right now, D-Man. They're the only, I think now the first team to play 2 games, and they won both of those solidly. The first game they had against Lion Gaming was probably even more one-sided than this one, but when you look at the kill score, 25-5, ridiculous.
I dread to see Twitch chat right now because I believe #Straya would be going everywhere, and Immunity are looking strong. Why not? They are representing the Australian hordes that will be watching this one. The brand new Oceanic server that really is getting represented in grand style.
They got to be pretty excited right now.
Pain Gaming, that's the ones we got to look at now, because are they going to be a challenger? Because right now, Immunity are coming out strong favorites. We thought maybe it was all about just the picks and bans in the game 1, but not in this one.
It didn't seem like it. Obviously, I